Welcome everyone. Sam Leary here. Today I am talking about my UX writing playlist, which will effectively be a university level introductory course that's going to help you leverage UX writing to either get more business or to add to your resume, to increase professional opportunities. UX writing, as I've said before, if you watch my last video, is an in-demand skill that can grant you professional and entrepreneurial opportunities. That's really what I'm trying to do. My UX writing course that I'm going to be making is going to be anywhere between 20 to 30 videos. It's going to, again, try to help people increase professional and entrepreneurial opportunities by leveraging an in-demand writing skill. I'm specifically interested in helping folks whose background is in the humanities. That's what I studied when I was in university, and I didn't necessarily feel super equipped to make the transition into the professional world, the entrepreneurial world. If you watch my last video, you know that I am a small business owner, that I help businesses and organizations in my community and the surrounding communities grow. So I have some experience with how UX writing can increase professional and entrepreneurial opportunities, and my goal is really to help folks make the transition more easily, whether you want to start your own business or using UX writing, or just add the skill to your resume so you can increase professional opportunities. That's what I'm here to do. So this video is going to be an overview. Imagine this as like the first day of class. Your professor is basically telling you what you can expect going forward and giving you a very high level overview of the material that's going to follow. So that's what I'm doing today. Thank you for being here. I hope you watched till the end, and let's get started. So first and foremost, I want to open with this idea that every $1 invested in UX returns on average $100. This is from a Forbes article titled "How UX is Transforming Businesses." So once we understand this point, this is kind of the prime mover in terms of, starting to leverage UX writing to some positive self-benefiting end, or, organizational benefiting end. Every $1 invested in UX returns $100. So it is a popular skill. It's growing in demand. It's projected to the field continue to expand over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So I think early adopters now are going to have a serious advantage going forward. That's why I want to teach it to you. So if we look down here, this is an example in my mind of good user experience, positive user experience, and good UX writing. Tell the story behind your design. Kind of what is it doing in the mind of the reader, of the user. It's not distracting too much, but it's kind of getting, it's warming somebody up. It's getting somebody to want to click that first call to action. This is an article that was put out by UX Studio, guaranteed conversion with these 9 landing page design elements. So user experience, and more specifically UX writing, are incredibly valuable tools that can help you increase professional and entrepreneurial opportunities, grow businesses and organizations, connect with a wider audience, etc. So today we're going to be going through high level, category by category, effectively what this course is going to cover over the next 20 to 30 videos. We'll see exactly how many. So without further ado, let's talk course syllabus. So really, it's an ebook that I put together to help you understand UX writing. I'm really trying to just get you on the road that you need to be on as quickly as possible. So effectively, I've designed this to direct the videos of the course, to direct the blogs that I'll be writing, the tweets, the LinkedIn posts, etc. So I invite you to visit my website to follow me, etc. But this is really the prime mover, the primary touchstone for learning UX writing via my channel, my videos, etc. So let's just talk quickly about the 9 categories that it's basically broken down into. As you can see, there are 14 pages. That might increase. I've kind of been playing with the page count a little bit over the last few days, so it might change, but generally speaking, it's going to stick around that much. So we're going to talk about how to learn UX writing. We're going to talk about becoming a UX writer. We're going to take a B2B approach, talk about how to use UX writing to help businesses and organizations in your communities and beyond grow. Then we're going to talk about the 2 most important UX writing documentations, which are the Questionnaire and the voice chart. So the questionnaire is important because it's going to allow you to collect user feedback, to conduct user research, and then the voice chart is going to function as a decision-making tool, as a kind of brand document that can be leveraged to basically make sure that your writing is cohesive online, whether you're writing for a website, an application, a social media platform, or all three. The UX Writing Voice Chart really helps to ensure that regardless of team size, regardless of bandwidth, consistent decisions can be made for writing that is going to yield conversions and resonate with an audience. So beyond that, we'll talk about using the voice chart itself. Then we're going to talk about terminology. I could spend all day talking terminology, but I won't. Terminology, incredibly important. Don't sleep on it. It's how if you know terminology, you know how to ask the right questions, and that is regardless of any field. So just a quick aside there. And then we're going to talk about how to learn UX writing faster. So that brings me back to this document we see right here. Again, my UX writing ebook. If you're interested in getting this, I invite you to visit my website, samleary.com. Join my e-newsletter. You'll get this. You'll get some of the AI prompts that I like to use for my business and have proven helpful. I'm somebody who's in the world of digital marketing. A lot of people are in the world of digital marketing, and I found a couple of prompts that help me just basically leverage my writing abilities to be more efficient in the workplace, and I want that for you as well. So I invite you again, sign up for my e-newsletter. You'll get this. You'll get this UX writing ebook. You'll also get, again, my short list of prompts. I'm working on more materials that I can distribute. If there's anything you want, leave a comment. I'd be happy to create documentation and send it out. But my e-newsletter will go out once a week. So stay tuned for more details. I'm thinking Saturdays, shortly before my videos go out. That's kind of where my head's at right now, but open to suggestions. But now let's move on. So again, introduction to UX writing. That's what we're talking about right now. This is kind of a course overview. I love this graphic right here because it illustrates why UX writing is so important. We see it's from smartinsights.com, so online retail growth statistics. It's effectively how you get somebody to purchase from you online, how you get somebody to come back and purchase from you. And I think this rings true whether we're talking small businesses or nonprofits. This is the user journey. This is how somebody, regardless of whether or not they're aware of it, this is how they end up on your website, end up using your application, and effectively making it to the bottom of your sales funnel. So writing obviously plays an important role at just about every one of these different phases. You can see here we have SEO, we have content marketing, we have a landing page, we have conversion rate optimization, and I could go on. I could read all these, but I won't. And it's effectively the point that is at the bottom of this is if you know how to leverage words correctly, if you can choose the right words, and if you have a mechanism in place for designing those words, you can effectively build better digital products that are going to, increase revenue and basically deliver fundraising dollars in the event that you're a nonprofit organization, which says still nothing about the brand awareness benefits, the brand affinity benefits, loyalty, engagement, etc. So that is a quick overview of why I selected this image, why I chose to include it in this presentation. I think it's worth screenshotting, it's worth remembering and putting to mind just how we are moving people from point a cold audience member, to somebody who is ready to purchase or has purchased and is passionate about the brand. It's really how we facilitate that movement. But let's talk about UX writing now, more specifically. So want to talk about why you should learn it, the starter guide, and then the UX writing process. So again, these are all included in my ebook. I invite you to download it, but UX writing is really more important now than ever before for reasons that I've covered. And the reason that's true is because communication matters. Communication has always mattered. And it's really only, in the last few decades that machines have been used or have been brought into facilitate. I'm not sure what the best word would be to facilitate human communication. So what I basically mean is, I'm able to communicate with you, the viewer, wherever you are. You might be on the other side of the world, you might be 20 miles away, but I'm able to communicate with you via the machines that we're using, the computers. So UX writing is concerned with how do we bridge that gap, that mechanistic gap, that gap that, inevitably there are two computers that we are, at least, I don't know, we're not in the same room. So how are we bridging that gap so that, efficient human communication is facilitated? So that's kind of a quick overview of why I think you should learn it. As an aside, I want to talk about accessibility. This is something I discussed in last week's video. If there's anybody who watched, accessibility is the future. I think a lot of times when people hear the word accessibility, they tend to think one thing when really it means something different. So the way I like to explain accessibility is that accessibility is, making your digital product accessible is necessary for some, but valuable for all. And that's not my line. I'm pretty sure I pulled that from it might have been it's some ADA adjacent website. It might have been W3. But my point, how this connects back to UX writing. Accessibility is the future. Accessibility is how you can reach the largest audience possible. So when we understand UX writing, when we think about UX writing and filter it through a lens of accessibility, what it means is designing words, creating an experience that is accessible to the largest audience possible, using words to that end. That is definitely why you should learn it, because every business, every nonprofit, every person is trying to connect. They're trying to find their audience, reach their audience. So definitely important to know. Then I'm going to talk about the starter guide. So this is effectively, you could call my UX writing ebook a starter guide, and to some extent it is, but I'm going to be even more focused, and really this is just going to be kind of general tips. So we'll talk about what UX writing is, how you can use the skill, and what UX writers actually do. Because the reality is, I'm a small business owner. We do have, it's my girlfriend and I, we are co-owners of the business, and we do have one employee at this time. So we are a pretty small team. My experience as a UX writer on a very small team is much different than the experience a UX writer might have working for a company like Google or Apple or EA or Microsoft, one of these huge companies that employs thousands of people. So the experience varies significantly, and it's important that we understand, how it varies when we're talking about learning UX writing, because your context might be very different from my context. So how can we ensure that you're able to get value from this? We need to talk about what, the wide variety of what UX writers actually do. Then last but not least, I will talk about my personal UX writing process. So it's kind of deceptively complicated because, at the surface, it looks like, a pre-writing, a writing, and a revising, 3 steps, and it's pre-writing, writing, revising. But I've also kind of combined it with the design thinking process, which is something that those popular companies like Apple, Google, etc., Microsoft, whatever, the design thinking process is something UX designers use to effectively facilitate more efficient product development life cycles. So the pre-writing phase, I'm covering this high level right now, but I will talk about it in more detail. As always, if you have questions, let me know, but pre-writing is about researching and designing. Writing itself obviously is about writing. It's about writing and editing, or other ways of thinking about it is ideating and prototyping. And then revising is about testing, iterating, reiterating, and so on. Next up, how to actually become a UX writer. So this is where we get more into the weeds, how to become a UX writer, it's not exactly easy. There's a lot of learning, there's a lot of practicing, but again, I'm here to make it easier. So I love this this triangle, or this pyramid right here. I'm not sure how much truth there is to it. It is something that I put together, but the idea is, how do we learn? How can we become a UX writer? I want to help you, harness the skill. How do we do that? I mean, it starts with, these are lectures. Who can say how much you really learn from a lecture? I don't know. Generally speaking, people assume that that you retain 10% of what you read. And it's generally assumed that lectures are lower than that. So hopefully this can be a jumping off point. I'm hoping that by keeping it very subject focused, you can learn more. But we'll see. And really, just to break this down, you'll want to, if you're serious about learning UX writing, about adding it to your professional skill set, you'll want to expose yourself to lectures, spend time reading, which is really kind of why I have designed this course and written my ebook to offer you those two resources as an on-ramp for UX writing, but then also audio-visual demonstrations, discussions, practicing yourself, and teaching others. So I'll cover all of this in more detail. I'm really working to make sure that all of these bases are covered for folks who do want to learn about UX writing. So expect that to be talked about in more detail going forward. Additionally, we see, I love this right here, 20 UX design examples to get inspired. This specifically is Duolingo. I love Duolingo's interface. I think it's fun, it's clean, and I just want to kind of enjoy it for a second. If there are any suggestions, any applications or websites whose user experience you really like, who you think they have examples of good UX writing, suggest them to me, send them my way. I am happy to talk about them in my videos. But now let's shift to the subject of the slide, and what you can expect from this page in my UX writing ebook. So what is UX writing? Skills that are required to become a UX writer, how you can get started, tips for succeeding, and then resources for learning. So there are a number of different definitions for UX writing, and depending on what video we are going to be, what the subject of the video is, the definition might change a little bit. But effectively what UX writing is it is writing for a user experience that is designed to help facilitate user action. It addresses users' needs, the needs of the user, as well as the organization or business whose experience it is, and it caters to the user so that when it facilitates action, and the user, the action that they take is in line with the action that the businesses or organization that what they want. So that was a very long-winded way of providing a definition, but just think of it, simply as the alignment of the user's goals with a business's or organization's goals. Took me a little while to talk through that, but I think I got there. If you're still wondering, just leave me a comment. I'm happy to answer questions. The importance of UX writing, really, it's all about product development, especially digital product development, conversion rate optimization. Those are two huge reasons why UX writing is important, but also defining brand voice. In a digital world where companies are becoming continually more responsible for defining their own voice in-house on platforms like Instagram or LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, what have you, it's never been more important to be intentional in the words that you use, and that's why UX writing is so important. So skills that are skills required to become a UX writer. So there are a number of skills. I'm not going to speak in this video to the skills themselves that you need. What I want to do is tell you where you can develop those skills, and that's going to be personal projects or entrepreneurship. It might be freelancing, employment, volunteering. These are just a number of places that you can look to, start exercising your UX writing muscles, so to speak. And that leads me into how you can actually get started. So building a portfolio. If you aren't in a position where you have any UX writing jobs, where you you're just trying to figure out how you can get how you can start building that portfolio. My recommendation would be to start locally. Look at, every business that's in a 10-mile radius of where you live, or if that is too intense, maybe it's a 2-mile radius depending on where you live, but every business in a 2-mile radius, and then finding the websites whose user experience you would improve, and then doing it yourself using a program like, it could be Figma, it could be Photoshop, it could be Canva, but something to help you effectively write words and lay them over the top of a user experience. Now, that's not necessarily something that a portfolio that you could leverage in a professional environment necessarily, but it can function as a proof of concept under the right circumstances. So that is my recommendation. Networking, obviously, finding opportunities. I highly recommend networking locally. I think in this digital age, a lot of times, I'm Gen Z. A lot of times the first place we look, I think, to network is, the digital world. And I think that is a mistake for a number of reasons. And my experience has been that actually looking, the physical world, professional networks, be they your local chamber of commerce or, there are other business professional organizations that are kind of in orbit of chambers of commerce, looking to those places for networking opportunities at the local, regional, national level before going the digital route. There's also no shortage of communities for people who are interested in user experience online. This is something that I'm in the process of developing for myself. Obviously, there's this YouTube channel, but my Patreon as well is something that I'm trying to grow out. I just have to get the content strategy right. But those are my recommendations. Start locally, in person, and then look digitally. And going back and forth between those two is a great way to get started. Then investing in yourself education-wise, courses, workshops, books. One thing I'll say, be very careful of courses. You don't want to end up overpaying. Workshops, there are some workshops, but generally speaking, I think that your best bet is going to be a book, whether it is my ebook, which you can get by joining my mailing list on my website, or a book I always recommend is Strategic Writing for UX by Tori Podmajersky. I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right. It's very long. But yeah, don't get caught overpaying for courses. A lot of people charge more than they should. And if it's not giving you a mechanism that you can use to directly make money, it's a little dangerous. So tips for succeeding, again, I kind of already touched on this a little bit, but local partnerships, so crucial. I think in a post-COVID world, being in person is so much more valuable and so much more effective in connecting with people than the digital world. And I suppose it's always been like that, but I think in this, post-COVID world, where you have hybrid events, you have, people are scheduling events online as well as in person. I think people are starting to discover that in person, although might not necessarily be as convenient and accessible as online, as hybrid events, offer significantly more opportunities in terms of their ability to facilitate the creation of partnerships. I would also say leverage social media to stay up to date with industry trends. So curating your social media feeds, whether it is LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, what have you, curating your feeds so that they are serving some educational end. I can say more about this later, but that's been a big help for me. It ensures that I'm always kind of getting fed some stream of valuable, up-to-date information from industry experts. And then incorporating user feedback, user centricity, design thinking process. Those are two terms that you should remember: user centricity and design thinking process. because that's really going to help you learn as you're moving into this UX writing space. It's really going to help you design better digital products. So even if you're just trying to build like a personal website for yourself, or you're working for a small nonprofit and have to make changes to the website, starting with these two terms, studying them, reading a few articles about them, is going to better position you to basically create better digital products. And then resources for learning, experience. Nothing is better than experience. There is nothing beats experience. At some point, you have to just go for it and you have to try. And it's not easy, but I am here to try and help make it easier. Online courses and certifications, that's something that I'm working on right now, trying to be able to provide that. I have done in the last year a couple different professional certificates, nothing like super serious that's through a university. I don't necessarily think a certificate through facilitated through a university is going to generate you the best return on investment. Online courses and certifications, even if it's just from Udemy, is going to be really helpful because it still presents a sort of a structured stream of content, basically, and that is, in my experience, the primary benefit of a certificate. I mean, obviously it's great to have it. You can say, look, I completed this course, I'm qualified, but in terms of actual learning that's happening, I think one of the primary reasons why a certificate is so valuable is simply because you have to pass, from A to B to C to, get to the end of your certificate. So I'll say more about that later, but books and articles again, and communities and conferences. So all of these are great ways to help you become a UX writer. Again, it really comes back to experience. Next, let's talk about UX writing for businesses. So the top reasons, if we look at this graphic, I love this graphic, top reasons for a visitor to leave a website. So we have slow loading, non-responsive web design, bad navigation, we have outdated design, poor content structure, and obtrusive use of audio and video. So this is from User Guiding, UX Statistics and Trends. I love this because it really communicates, like, why are people leaving your site, leaving your application? And once we understand, generally speaking, the reasons why, then it becomes more lucrative. It becomes people can effectively understand why it's valuable to have somebody with a knowledge of UX writing in the room, helping to make better decisions. So the importance of UX writing for businesses, again, when we dive into this, I'll talk about what UX writing is for businesses of varying sizes. We'll talk about the role of UX writers in businesses, and again, at businesses of varying sizes, and then key principles of effective UX writing for small, medium, and large-sized businesses. We're also going to talk about boosting user engagement and retention, so crafting clear and concise copy, ways in which you can do that, mechanisms that are going to help systematize that process, improving user navigation with intuitive labels, how really, designing a responsive website, improving user navigation, it all grows out of the words. It all grows out of the language that is on a web page, that is in an experience. So we'll talk about that in great detail. Personalization and voice consistency, making sure that your website reads the same as your LinkedIn profile. Basically designing documentation, writing tools that will help facilitate better writing, so that our audience is the audience of a business, of a nonprofit, of a person, regardless of what channel they are experiencing that person, business, or organization through, the experience, the words, the emotions that are behind the words, the subconscious, like all the little subconscious details that are at play are aligned with the vision of the person, business, or organization. Easier said than done, but won't dwell on that too long. So enhancing conversion rates. This is where, this is the nitty gritty. This is really where we see a return on investment. So call to action strategies, how to design, these small clusters of, sometimes it's one word, sometimes it's as many as 5 to 6. Sometimes if it's just a sentence that we're trying to do for a call to action, it's a sentence. It might be 10 to 12 words, but strategies that are effectively going to help push the user over the edge so that they are motivated, inspired to take that call to action so that their pain points are met and the business achieves its goals and objectives. So also building trust through UX writing. It is not something I think people often consider, the extent to which trust and credibility are communicated through the words on a website, in an application, and how we can make that happen, how businesses can do that in-house in a way that is sustainable. That'll be something we talk about. And then reducing friction and enhancing user flow. So, if imagine you're a managing director for a nonprofit and you have your website. What do you want your website to do? You want your website to help you get more fundraising dollars, to help you build awareness of your nonprofit, to help you find volunteers, and to effectively just present the organization in a way that is appealing to an audience. Doing that is easier said than done, and making it so that people can come to your website and immediately understand what you do and how they can support you and how you can fix their problems. That's a tall order, and UX writing is really what helps to streamline that process and reduces the friction points that are inherent in that process. So we'll cover that. Streamlining user onboarding, creative, effective onboarding tutorials. How are we basically teaching somebody to interface with a personal brand, a business, or an organization? Utilizing different inexperienced guidance and tool tips and different strategies for simplifying sign up and login processes, product purchasing processes. Try saying that 3 times fast. Just the idea of, okay, how can we, now that we have gotten a user to our website or our application, how are we keeping them there, and how are we helping them accomplish their goals in the short, medium, and long term? Then we're going to be talking about implementing UX writing in your business, businesses, or if you're not a business owner, in your community. How teams can leverage UX writing, whether there's single person teams, small teams, or larger teams. Then we'll talk about cross-field collaboration, how UX writers work with designers, developers, stakeholders, marketers, managers, and how to leverage different writing documentation like the questionnaire and the voice chart to navigate that space where there's a bunch of different people who are, all in the kitchen helping you cook. In situations like that, the UX writing voice chart, for example, can really help to make faster decision making and better decision making, I could say. And then last but not least, continuous improvement through user feedback and analytics. I will be talking at great lengths about how to do that. So that covers UX writing for businesses. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. So this brings us to the UX writing questionnaire. And what I want to talk about is this little guy over here. So this is in my ebook, my UX writing ebook. Again, you want to download that, join my newsletter at samleary.com. There are 9 questions here, which I'll talk about in more detail, obviously, when we get to this part of the course. But these 9 questions are effectively what you can use to conduct user research or to develop a user persona if you don't immediately have access to the users, the number of people that are necessary to conduct research, how you can kind of work around that by just, empathizing with your hypothetical user or your ideal user persona. So expect that in the video. We're going to be talking a lot about personas. I love this graphic from Agency Sparks. I think this was on their website, but demographic details, goals and challenges, psychographics, how to reach your ideal user, and then messaging that is going to resonate with them. When we're talking about ideal user personas, we're really talking about people, specifically your target market, your business's target market or the target market of other businesses and organizations. And there's a lot that goes into that because you have to understand your user, you have to empathize with their problems in order to write words that address their problems. So we'll discuss that in more detail. This graphic I just dropped in. Where's this from? This is, I don't think this is from, is this just Pinterest? I think this is Pinterest, but I forgot to upload or cite it correctly. So that's my bad. Shout out Pinterest. Anyways, I really like the user experience here. I like just the way that they use color and information, the information architecture of the site and the hierarchy and how it's using space and gutters and rounded corners and like some sort of branded consistency that offers the user a lot of information at once without being too text heavy. I could say more about this. I will talk extensively about different examples, not for this video, but you know, in a future video. But for now, let's talk about the UX writing questionnaire. So what is a UX writing questionnaire? The importance of a UX writing questionnaire, how the questionnaire helps beginners, crafting your UX writing questionnaire, and then UX writing questionnaire best practices. So a lot to cover here. But just looking at it quickly, you know, definition and purpose. In my mind, the purpose of the UX writing questionnaire is to really create a document that can quickly communicate to the UX writer as well as stakeholders, as well as other team members, who the user is and what they need, what their pain points are, so that the organization, the business, can understand how to address those needs. And that really begins with the UX writer. So components of a UX writing questionnaire, this really depends. A lot of times it depends on the scope of a project, on the budget, on the size of the team. In the case of this course, in the case of the ebook, the UX writing ebook that I wrote, I'm just keeping it simple. There are questions and there are answers. And that's that's really all there is. The questions aren't anything too crazy. I've tried to make it as simple as possible just so that you can get the ball rolling. Now, the importance of a UX writing questionnaire, it is to enhance the user experience. Ultimately, if you can enhance your user experience, it will follow that your conversion rates are optimized, that your conversion rates increase, and that your return on investment in the digital world increases. Also, streamlining content development. So a lot of times, a lot of business owners, decision makers I talk to struggle with content production because you get on what I like to call the content treadmill, and it becomes very hard to keep up. A lot of times what you know, and I've had this happen to myself as well, but what I see working with business owners, with nonprofit leaders, is, you know, creating content is a job in and of itself. And a lot of times when you get on what I call the content treadmill, you're just producing content to, you know, deliver on the deadlines. And oftentimes that sacrifices, you know, you have to make a sacrifice for strategy, for strategizing, for optimizing your content strategy. So the UX writing questionnaire really helps to streamline the content development life cycle because it outlines important touch points so that you're not spending, you know, every time you write a LinkedIn post, you don't spend, you know, 5 minutes second guessing yourself about the word choice. That's what we mean when we talk about streamlining content development. Ensuring consistency and clarity. Nothing is more important in the digital world than ensuring you know, the information that you're presenting to a user is consistent with your brand voice, with your brand, and is clear, is easily understandable by a wide variety of potential users. Next up, how the questionnaire helps beginners. It establishes a strong foundation for key content factors. It is effectively a jumping off point. It is, you know, if you have a questionnaire complete, all of a sudden you're going to be able to say, you know, this is who our user is. These are their problems. What sort of content should we create? What sort of writing should be on our site, in our app, so that we are, you know, addressing those pain points, so that we are positioning ourselves in the market in a way that is competitive in our industry. Easily identify areas for improvement. questionnaire is super helpful. If you can define, answers to the questions are going to show you, where are points that we could improve upon. What is the low-hanging fruit for our current setup? And then facilitating full team collaboration. If you can all having the questionnaire and the voice chart and being able to gather around them and discuss them with a team is going to help you make better decisions. It's going to ensure that there is, everybody is always on the same page, regardless of, the what point you might be in the product development life cycle. So then crafting your UX writing questionnaire, there are a couple different ways to do it. You either basically have a base to research from, or you don't have a base to research from. And if you have a base to research from, then great. Then you distribute your questionnaire to, generally speaking, I suggest the most a group of your most engaged audience members, effectively. Whether it's you're a nonprofit or a business, I recommend the people who are in your target market, who effectively are most engaged, who are around. They're coming to events. They're members of the organization. They purchase from you on a regular basis, seeking information, answers to your questions from those sorts of people is going to help you basically get ahead. Alternatively, you might not have a group that you can go to distribute the questionnaire to. In that case, the way in which you can leverage the questionnaire is as a tool which can help you empathize with your ideal users, with your target market. So I'll say more about that when we get to this video. But for now, just remember, you're always going to want to tailor the questionnaire to your project. So typically I recommend, just keeping it as general as possible in terms of what we're trying to do. So I've created a questionnaire for, a year-long marketing plan for a business. I think that is where it kind of works best. Although, if you have some sort of annual campaign or something that, you can expect to come around next year, there might be specific decisions that you want to make, for something that's happening on a regular basis. And in that case, you'll want to tailor the questionnaire to your project. And then analyzing and applying your results. If you distribute this, you get it sent back, people have answered the questions. How do we use that data in a way that is going to help us? How can we apply that data? That's something I will also talk about. And then best practices, just regularly updating. Pretty basic, getting feedback from users, obviously, but also stakeholders on the form of your questionnaire. You always want to make sure that you're opening the door to other stakeholders to get feedback. And I like doing that a quarterly basis, but definitely semi-annual. As long as you're doing it regularly, at least once every 6 months, I would say you're positioning yourself for success with the questionnaire. And then continually refining your writing skills. Read books, follow industry experts, download my UX writing ebook from my website, join my newsletter, etc. But now let's pivot. Let's pivot to the voice chart itself. This is so important. I would love to take credit for the voice chart, but I can't. Strategic Writing for UX. This is a book that I have already recommended at least once in this video. It's by Tori Podmajersky. She is a really famous UX writer. Back in the day, she worked for Microsoft. She was a UX writer for the Xbox 360. Really cool stuff. I love this book. It definitely helped me, understand the terminology, and it communicated to me this the voice chart, which is 100% the most important tool that UX writers have at their disposal. So an article I recommend is Landing Page Optimization, 6 Common Traits of a Template That Works. So it's from 2013, so it's old, so I wouldn't necessarily take the visuals at face value, but I think the content, the reason why this is still an article that's being read is because there's truth to the words, effectively. But now let's talk about the voice chart itself. So what is a UX writing voice chart? The importance of a UX writing voice chart, how the voice chart helps beginners, crafting your UX writing voice chart, and then UX writing voice chart best practices. So a UX writing voice chart is a visual representation of your brand's tone and voice. It basically segments product principles, and then each product principle is discussed in great detail in terms of concepts, vocabulary, verbosity, grammar, punctuation, capitalization. You get the idea. But it's a tool that helps writers maintain consistency in messaging. I will walk through how to actually fill one of these out, but you would effectively, like, you'd put a product principle up here and then write corresponding concepts for the product principle. It's not too, it's not gonna, again, not paradigm shifting, but it's just, if you can hit the form, you can implement it, you can add the skill to your professional repertoire. And again, I've mentioned this a couple of times in a few different ways. It's a way to align your writing with your brand's personality and values. So every brand, every organization has, they all have different ways of distinguishing themselves from one another, regardless of the industry that they're in. Everybody wants to communicate the unique value propositions of their business, their organization. UX writing is what helps make that happen, and it specifically is the UX writing voice chart that functions as the document, the founding document for ensuring that brands and businesses and organizations can communicate what makes them unique. The importance of the voice chart, it's going to help create a cohesive brand identity and personality. It helps writers communicate the brand's messaging effectively, and it enhances the user's experience by making content more relatable and engaging. So it works on a number of different fronts, with obviously the business side, the writer side, and the user side. So ensuring that all three of those are able to work together towards some common end. The UX writer, the job of the UX writer is to serve as a bridge between users and businesses and organizations. So once you understand that, and you understand what the voice chart is, you can figure out how to develop a voice chart that is going to function to that end. How the voice chart helps beginners. It provides a clear framework for writing. It helps new writers understand the brand's tone and voice, and it reduces the learning curve and speeds up the writing process. So a lot of the businesses and organizations I work with are constantly trying to find ways to decrease the amount of time it takes to onboard new staff. One problem, for example, with digital marketers is, okay, we're hiring somebody to handle our social media, but the problem that we have or are facing is that we're having a difficult time basically ensuring that our voice is similar across all of our different social platforms. Okay, if you have a UX writing voice chart, it's going to take the load off basically on what you're asking a new employee to do. It's going to give them a better idea of what your brand voice is, which is going to decrease the amount of time it takes to onboard them in that regard. So that's some of the value that it offers, the UX writing voice chart offers. In terms of crafting your UX writing voice chart, you want to identify your brand's values and personality traits. You want to create guidelines for tone, language, and style. And then you want to use examples to illustrate your brand's voice in action. So talk more about that. I have a lot to say about creating guidelines for tone, language, and style. These are small details that a lot of businesses and organizations tend to overlook, and I think rightfully so. As a small business owner who's very involved in the day-to-day of my business, you can it's easy to overlook things that you're not necessarily seeing a direct ROI on. But the idea is, the whole point in my mind, or one of the points of UX writing, is this idea that it is tightly connected to conversion rate optimization, to generating a return on investment. So creating guidelines for these small details that's going to help ensure that the writing is better, which will in turn make sure that the conversion rates are high and a return on investment is generated. In terms of UX writing, voice chart best practices, keep it simple, easy to understand, use bullet points, regularly review and update, again, quarterly or on a semi-annual basis, and then use the voice chart to guide all writing efforts from website copy to social media posts. In my experience, you create a voice chart for yourself, for your business, for an organization. You're probably, and if you're iterating from that, if you're using it as a writing tool, you'll probably have to use it for 2 weeks before it's basically put to mind. But eventually it is something that you're just going to internalize and be able to apply as it suits you. Again, if you're still listening, still bearing with me, thank you very much. I invite you to visit my website, samleary.com, and download my ebook, my UX writing ebook. All right, next up. So important UX writing terminology. So terminology makes for effective communication. You need to learn terminology, and it's not just because a teacher never explained to me in school that the point of terminology is so you can ask the right questions. Obviously you need to know terms to master a subject, but especially with recent evolutions in artificial intelligence and how regular people, I just mean everyday citizens can interact with artificial intelligence and leverage it for professional ends. If you know terminology, you can ask the right questions that are get you the right answers, so that you can just move more quickly through the product development life cycle, or project development life cycle, whatever it might be called in your neck of the woods. Really, the important terms that you need to know for UX writing, there are a ton, but the ones I want to focus in on are, the ones that pertain to the voice chart: product principles, concepts, vocabulary, verbosity, grammar, punctuation, capitalization. So we'll talk about all those in more detail in future videos. If you're interested, they are readily accessible in my ebook. This photo over here, Why Conversion Optimization Strategy Trumps Tactics Every Time, from Neil Patel Computing. He just goes through, talks about different examples on this webpage of, distraction, for example, multiple products mentioned without detail. We see data protection and recovery. So it's just this, I love this graphic because just at a glance, it basically outlines a number of different things that a web page is doing and how it could be improved upon. And it's filtered through this lens of conversion optimization strategy, but I think UX writing is kind of in the same orbit of that. So how terminology makes effective communication: it enhances clarity and comprehension. It reduces ambiguity and misunderstandings, and it facilitates cross-disciplinary collaboration. If everybody has a common understanding of terminology, everybody is able to speak, to communicate on the same wavelength. And that is critically important for teams. It is critically important for businesses and organizations who have a value proposition that they deliver to a target market. We're talking about things that are tangible and not hypothetical. So we need to have the same vocabulary, the same language that we are working from. And then terminology management in content and design. So consistency in UX writing and content marketing, establishing brand identity and trust, and improving SEO and online visibility. So this is something that understanding UX writing terminology helps in every sense. So consistency in UX writing and content marketing, really that goes back to what I just mentioned. If you have a well-defined understanding of these different terms, of all of these words, you're going to be able to move from A, B to C in a way that is much more efficient and consistent. Establishing brand identity and trust. If you want to position yourself in a community, be it local, regional, national, international, you need to have consistent branding. You need to have the sort of branding that is going to kind of linger in somebody's mind, not necessarily in a way that is conscious, but in a way where, if they see your logo, if they see your messaging, a commercial, at some point in the future, we want them to have a picture of of your brand, and that starts with the words, the language that you use. Then let's see, the top 3 ways to learn and apply terminology. Develop a comprehensive glossary. That's in my ebook on my website. Standardize terminology across platform, figuring out what your product principles are and how you're going to incorporate them into your content, whether we're talking about LinkedIn or a website, what have you. And then continuous monitoring and updating. So again, semi-annually, at least, ideally on a quarterly basis, but just revisiting and circling the wagons with project stakeholders and saying, you know, what are we trying to do? What are we missing? What data have we collected over the last 3 to 6 months, and how can we leverage that data to effectively build a better decision-making tool in our UX writing voice chart? So that's important UX writing terminology. Again, this is just high level. We're not talking about the terminology that is for the next time. So how to use the UX writing voice chart. So here we have a couple different examples of positive and negative experiences as they extend from UX writing. So this is an Apple Watch interface. So what do we see here? We see an error message versus an oops message. Oops, you know, not to get too poetic on you, but like, what are the emotional connotations of the word oops versus those of the word error, and how do those differing connotations, how might they affect a user who is encountering this error message differently? For my, you know, and then beyond that, the text that we get, we have 3 lines versus 2 lines, and then we have a button with 5 words versus 2 words. So this has a green check, the bottom one, and I'll say quickly how UX writing can help create good design from Usability Geek. This is a good article, one which I recommend, and I just had to pull these graphics, so definitely recommend checking that out. And the point that I want to make with this is we see, you know, it's a faster experience here. This is easily the bottom one, the oops, easier to skim, and is much, you know, getting the user to click this try again button, I think is increased simply because oops is kind of a, again, not to get too poetic, or, you know, this is kind of my my fiction writing side coming through, but, you know, thinking about the emotional work that oops does to get somebody back into an experience versus error. If I'm a user encountering an error, I'm upset, I'm mad. Just get me back into the experience so I can figure out where things went wrong and how I can get to where I want to go. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how, like, what a bad example of UX writing is versus what a good example of UX writing is. I'll talk about more examples in future videos, but it's not something that is super important right now, just wanted to give you a quick idea. So then let's talk about what makes a brand's social media best in class. This is from Sprout Social. I love Sprout. I don't use their products. I just think they have a good blog. So brand voice, what is it and why it matters? So I won't read through all of these, but effectively what it means is, like, yeah, the words that you use on your website, the words that a person, business, organization uses on their website, those words are important. So defining those words, that's going to help set you apart from your competitors, and building an experience around those words, going to help generate a positive ROI. So this really brings us to how to use the voice chart, because we saw a positive example of UX writing, and we know that UX writing facilitates a positive difference in a brand's social media, in their web design. So how do we use the UX writing voice chart to that end? Enhance brand consistency, boost user engagement, streamline user navigation, and improve usability and accessibility. So you want to identify your brand, use the UX writing voice chart to identify your brand's tone and voice, and then implement that voice as you have defined it across different platforms so that you can maintain a unified messaging and strategy. I'm going to outline the process that goes into that and how I have worked with teams in the past to facilitate that process. Boosting user engagement, writing clear and concise copy, iterating, you know, a number of different examples that could be used, creating personalized user experience, optimizing calls to actions, and user onboarding. So these are all different steps in a user journey that really need to be addressed. They're all different components that contribute to a positive user experience. And it's really 3 important ways that you can use the UX writing voice chart to some, self-benefiting, organizational benefiting end. Streamlining user navigation. Structuring information with hierarchies. This is one thing that UX writing is uniquely good for. Crafting intuitive labels and menu items in your experience, and then utilizing UX writing best practices for navigation. We're really, when you build a website, when you build an application, the user has, you have some idea of what a user's pain points, what their problems are, and you really want to deliver them to solutions as quickly as possible. So you need to streamline your user navigation using UX writing such that it is effectively, getting out of the way of the user as quickly as possible. Again, talk more about that in a future video, but improving usability and accessibility. This brings me back to the very beginning of today's video. So writing for readability and comprehension, ensuring inclusivity and empathy in UX writing, and then adhering to accessibility standards and guidelines. Usability, if your experience is not usable, it will not generate conversions. It will not produce a positive return on investment. So usability, and then accessibility. Accessibility, like I said, necessary for some, valuable for all. So usability and accessibility, super important ways that the UX writing voice chart can be leveraged to increase the efficiencies of experiences, of websites, applications, you name it. And then how to learn faster. So I think this is the last slide. So just bear with me. We're almost to the end. And then we'll start diving into all of these in more detail. So I love this graphic, how to learn fast, comparing the speed of learning. Adioma, I'm not familiar with like the brand, business, whatever, but I love the graphic. We see like a rocket ship, 10,000 miles an hour, learning by taking big risks. I don't know. I would just say risks, like, learn by taking mitigated risks. I think that's a good way to learn. Learning by doing, airplane 500 miles an hour, learning from a mentor 65, that's a car. Learning through school, that's a bike. And then learning by reading is walking 3 miles an hour. I don't think any one of these ways, I don't think you need all of these ways to work together to effectively learn faster. So that's my recommendation, not just choosing one of these and going all in, spreading yourselves out. That's why I've designed my UX writing ebook, which you can get on my website by signing up for my newsletter. That's why I designed it to go along with these videos, so that you have the ability to read, so that you have the ability to watch videos. And then eventually, as I start doing, I provide the documentation. You can learn by doing, by filling them out with me when we get to those videos, but effectively doing all of these. So now let's talk about how to learn UX writing faster. So practice UX writing through hands-on projects, utilize UX writing tools and resources, learn from UX writing experts and mentors, and then engage in UX writing courses and workshops. So practice through hands-on products. I recommend a personal UX writing portfolio. Basically what that means is build a website for yourself. Build a 3-page website that has a home page, a contact page, and a portfolio page. Something that is, I recommend WordPress. You can use Squarespace or Wix or, something else that might be a little easier in terms of onboarding you. But I really recommend building a personal website for yourself. It's going to do so much in terms of helping you actually learn how to apply all of what we're talking about, and it's going to function as a great proof of work, basically proof of concept. Then there's freelancing, Fiverr, Upwork, if you want to, like Craigslist, or maybe Facebook Marketplace or something like that. But Fiverr and Upwork are good for getting freelance opportunities. I would warn that generally speaking, they tend to be races to the bottom. So I think they're good for getting a few case studies early on, but my experience is transitioning away from them is helpful. So then collaborating on open source projects. There are a number of projects that are available. Like you go to, a UX writing community or a coding community, and you can always find open source projects that are being developed. And if you have some background, maybe you have some case studies, you built your personal website, you've been on Upwork for a little while, you could volunteer your time to complete some UX writing tasks. I think especially with AI these days, you could iterate a good enough UX writing voice chart, even if you're a beginner. And I'll teach you how to do that going forward. But next up, utilizing UX writing tools and resources. So the top UX writing tools for efficiency, it's really the voice chart, it's really the questionnaire. Completing those documents and doing it more than once, multiple times. If you do 20 voice charts, you're going to be set up. You're going to be able to use the terminology, to draw on it very quickly and apply it. Staying updated with trends and best practices. Follow your people on social media, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on YouTube. Join their newsletters. But as a way of staying up to date on industry best practices, just keeping your ear to the ground. Education is important. Community is important. And then, the essential UX writing guides and books. I'll talk about a number of different UX writing books that I recommend. Right now, it's really Strategic Writing for UX by Tori Podmazurski, as I mentioned, and my UX writing voice chart, UX writing ebook. I've been talking for like an hour now, so it's starting to wear on me. And then learn from UX writing experts and mentors. So follow industry leaders on social media, join UX writing communities. UX Writing Hub is a great place. I really like it there. And participating in mentorship programs. I put this in curly brackets because you can do that, but don't spend a bunch of money doing that, which really brings me to my next point, which is engaging in courses and workshops. So online UX writing courses, there's a pre-recorded versus a live route that you can go. There's a live workshop would be facilitated by a writing organization or by a UX Writing Hub online community, whereas a pre-recorded would be like Udemy, this course, for example. If you are going to pay for a course that isn't live, that doesn't give you, there's not an easy way to ask questions, just be careful about how much money you're spending. I've been somebody who has wasted a lot of money on courses that don't really deliver the sorts of mechanisms that you need to actually generate a return on investment from your investment in a course. So I would just be mindful of that going into it. Always be skeptical, always always be skeptical about how is this going to help me make money, basically, because otherwise you could end up in a position where you spend $400 on a course, and or even less than that, and a significant amount of money to effectively get nothing back. That is not what you want, because you could buy 10 books and a subscription to whatever, something. You just figuring out a way to optimize your investment dollars is what I'm saying. And then engage in, I started reading the subheading again, but in person, if you can find an in-person UX writing workshop, which if you're in a large metropolitan area, you might be able to do that, go for it. Hopefully it's not too expensive. This is really what I'm trying to do with my Patreon, is I'm trying to create space for workshops that are, can happen on a regular basis, can benefit many people, and are affordable for all. So, and then how to choose the right course or workshop for you. I think it's really about cost and mechanism. To emphasize the idea of a mechanism, you need a mechanism is something that you can basically take and use to generate an income. So I'll be doing this when we talk more about the questionnaire and the voice chart, but a way of basically a workflow so that you can move from the beginning to the end of a project. And if a course doesn't offer you that, it's probably not worth it, especially if it's, $50, $100+ if it needs to give you a mechanism, because the mechanism is the road that you can take that will generate you a return on investment, so that you're not just spending $100 for knowledge that you can't readily apply. So that is my advice for how to choose the right course or workshop. Just make sure that you're getting a mechanism, and maybe that is, you can read reviews, you can go to the source itself. But again, I will say it 1,000 times because I really feel like it's that important of a word. Mechanism, mechanism, mechanism. And that really brings us to the end. So I want to thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I invite you to subscribe to my channel, to follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. That's where I'm going to be most active going forward. And then visit samleary.com so you can download my free UX writing guide. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.